Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Outer Rim Rambling with myself, the Outlaw Adam Neeson, joined as always by the Jedi Knight Danny Brown. Danny, my friend, how are you?
I am very good. I am full of spaghetti bolognese, so I'm a
Mm.
very contented boy. What about
I
you?
I had the meal of a small child. I had chicken chips and some
Okay.
baked beans.
There was a moment there I was kind of like, yeah, a small child, but yeah, what chicken shapes were they shaped like chickens or were they like the bird's eye like teardroppy ones or were they dinosaurs?
They're the teardrops. I think the dinosaurs are turkey. What they
Mm,
what they call turkey.
yeah.
It could really just be grey paste put
Hmm.
into a batter, but you know what? With some beans on it, you can't beat it.
Beans help with everything. Like they are just the best accompaniment.
Mhm.
I love a good bean. Was it a baked bean or I'm
It was a
assuming a
it
baked
was a
bean.
baked bean.
Yeah.
It's a sometimes you get baked beans with sausages in them. This isn't very interesting talk.
No, but you know who I bet loves beans? Our
I
guest.
I know a man who loves beans.
Only green beans. Only have green
Oh,
beans
only green beans?
Oh,
Not even a
or black beans.
refried bean?
We have a lot of black. I'm in New Mexico. We do a lot of black beans and rice.
hmm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
But you hear the voice of a man whose career has been a collective touchstone of fantastic pop culture projects over the last 20 years, reaching from John Wick, Love Lies Bleeding, Breaking Bad, Gen V, and of course, our very own Paz Vizsla from The Mandalorian. Today, joining us is Tait Fletcher. Tait, how are you, my friend?
Good. I even have my Gen V
Oh,
hammer.
you got
Hell
to
yeah.
keep it. Is that the original prop? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There were like 30 of them, and I was like, I need to take one of these home. So,
Yeah. Did you
um,
just take it or were they like you can
no,
have
no,
that?
no. I'm that everybody's job is under scrutiny if something like
Mm.
that happens. So I got to get all the proper clearance. But the prop lady was very amenable to it. She was like, okay. And it's kind of shuttled out as I was getting in the van. She's like, okay, I got one for you.
Nice.
And then I
Very
was
good.
taking it home on the plane from Toronto. It was interesting.
And
Yeah.
was there any questions? Was anyone like you can't
No,
just bring a warhammer on a plane?
if it were all steel, perhaps, but this one they thought was okay.
Yeah, and what's it made of? Is it like a resin or a foam or what's
This one is
the
resin and foam, mostly. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And
very
then there
cool.
were some that were hard, like that were hard epoxy. We had different hammers depending on what the weight was the speed in which it needed to look like it was moving, and whether I was playing with another character or not. There's stuff that's nicer to be struck with than other stuff,
Hmm.
and so yeah, it just depended. But they had 30 different weights and sizes of them.
Yeah. And did you feel were they on like a weight rack of like different all the different weighted hammers for you?
Yeah, I mean, you could walk by and see them all. It's awesome, the magic behind the movies of all the different, on Mando is, I mean, the dark saber and all the different weaponry that's there is just all out on the prop table. It's a cool thing to be a part of.
Yeah, I would say being on the Mandalorian set and seeing all the different blasters and vibro blades and armors and like that must have been incredible. But we'll get more into that in a bit because I think will we take it right back to the start and let's just touch on before we get into your career, let's touch on Star Wars for you. Were you a Star Wars fan prior to getting to be a part of the galaxy far, far away?
Yeah. I mean, I think you'd be hard pressed to find somebody that wasn't
Hmm.
that's of my age. The it might have been the first movie I ever saw in a theater, and I was in Petoskey, Michigan. And I just remember waiting outside this red brick theater, um, waiting to go in. And the thing that really strikes me about it is that I'm a young kid, and so it was amazing to me. But the real amazing part of Star Wars is that when you see the Millennium Falcon go into hyperspace, that's as real today with all the bullshit CG graphics, AI. It is as exhilarating in that film as it is anything they've ever done since. And they did it all with functional puppetry and effects. And I find it amazing to be a part of something like that. And then when as that built, I mean, life goes on, and the first three for me were somebody asked a question the other day at a panel. They said, "What do you call the first Star Wars movie?"
Mm-hmm.
And different people had different answers, but basically it was dependent upon what age they were.
Yeah.
And for me it was Star Wars.
Yeah.
The name of that movie is Star Wars,
Mm-hmm.
right? To somebody that's born in the 90s or the 2000s or later, it's another thing, and so I'd kind of gone away from it after the next three came out. Um, I was just interested in different things. I had a fight career going at that time. I get focused on what I'm focused on. Um, but to have that come back, it was just another audition that I did with some of the usual suspects that I see at auditions that are like, you know, who's a gorilla that's 250 pounds that can act and like all that kind of stuff. And there's, six of us or eight of us in the room or something like that. And I tried out for a character called Alpha Trawler. Read that bit and I didn't know anything about it or what I was going for. And then later I get a call and they said, yeah, Jon Favreau saw your, and I go, Jon Favreau, what's he doing? And so I look into it all and I see Lucasfilms on go, God damn, what, so I didn't really know what it was. And then I got a call a week or so later after I'd gotten the job and they said, yeah, John wants you to play this other part. And so I thought maybe I lost I'm more suited for another part. Okay. And I ended up playing two roles in it. So I played Alpha Trawler and then I played, of course, Paz. And, but I didn't know what Paz Vizsla was. Nobody did. On all my Under Armour that I'd wear underneath all my armor, in the Ziploc bags, 4 years later, I'm looking at it in episode 3 or in season 3, and it just says heavy infantry gunner or something like that, right? It's like nobody building it knew what it was. We just knew that it was this character based on Boba Fett, and that was kind of the information we had. And I remember they're doing all the measurements of everything to build this suit around me, and then they come in with this flat black helmet, and I go, "Holy fuck, am I Boba Fett right now?" Like, and they go, "We don't know." And so it wasn't really until the unveiling was when I walked out the first time in the suit on set, and there's all the Disney nerds that are there, all the marketing and advertising execs and the toy company, and they want to see what this is. And I go, holy shit, this is a big deal. Like it just became a bigger deal every step that I took. It wasn't like the light switch was on. It's like, you're in Star Wars. It was like a dimmer switch that kept getting, I'm like, oh, they're like, yeah, go take pictures. You're going to be the toy. So go and take, poses with the knife. And so all of that stuff coming on. And then, the first thing where I was like, holy, I had a dressing room next to Carl Weathers, and I just saw his name on the door, and I was like, anyway, real hero, and a real, in every right, a trailblazer, going from athlete into, an athlete in films, and then producing and directing things, and really great man. So that was dope. And then when I got to see the sets, it was like nothing I'd ever been a part of before, really. I mean, they did volumetric background instead of green screens, and that's like being inside a video game with your friends, where it's like real time and real interaction. It was really dope, really, really cool. Mm-hmm. And then I got to speak Huttese. I got to speak in this other language that a linguist from George Lucas Films had made up, and he's there guiding me. We'd done training onto that, and it was really spectacular experience, even beyond, besides it being Star Wars. The whole experience in itself was tremendous. And then to be working with, people at the very top of their game in all these ways. And the other real interesting thing is that everybody on set, you say, were you a Star Wars fan before? There's nobody on that set that's not a Star Wars fan. I mean, the carpenters, the grips, the caterers, everybody has been affected by Star Wars in the last 50 years. It's just incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. That's again a fantastic rundown there. And as you say, yeah, you're really hard pushed to find somebody who hasn't in some way encountered Star Wars. Like even people I know's grannies may not have watched Star Wars, but if you say Darth Vader, they'll know what Darth Vader is. Which
everybody knows Yoda.
Yeah, exactly. And Baby Yoda now more so than anything, that's a whole new generation. Don't even bother looking at Yoda anymore because they've got Grogu. But you mentioned there about the toy and how you were kind of brought in to take photos and stuff for the toy. But I just wanted to say I do happen to have a toy of you right here, but
Right on.
it's got the wrong head on it. It's
Ah, that's
it's
hilarious.
the Jon Favreau one. How do I get a Tate head for this thing? Did you ever
Yeah.
get did Hasbro ever turn around and be like, here's a special little Tate
I have
version for you?
there's guys in Belgium, I think it was, where they had Legos that you could take the head off of, and it had a beard and the whole thing. Which is
Glass.
cool. There's
Okay, yeah.
a lot of fan art that's out there, and the fan art is really the thing that I find most amazing about the universe, about being able to be inside of this universe. Is
Mhm.
um, and you mentioned Grogu, Baby Yoda, as we knew him for the first year or whatever. But everything was so tight-lipped about the project and about everything else that there's no images released. There's no, it's very tight. And inside of that, when this got released and people get a glimpse of Grogu for the next year, you're seeing Instagram postings of like, here's a needlepoint Grogu. Here's one made out of Levi's. Here's one, just all these different creative, beyond belief expressions of this thing that Hasbro or whatever big corporation hasn't gotten their hands on yet.
Mhm.
And that's the coolest part about going to conventions and stuff too, is like you get to see the art that is in this world. And it's not just what you see on screen, it's the fan base is all these creatives, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, there's one I actually wanted to show you. Have you seen Brian Kissinger's Pez Vizsla?
Oh, the Pez dispenser.
Yeah, the Pez dispenser
Yeah, yeah,
version of
yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah.
I love that. I remember seeing it and just being like, "That's class." And then I'm kind of like, do I need a tattoo of that?" But yeah, you're right. There's so much creativity comes out of the creativity of Star Wars. So many people are inspired to go and do art and do tattoos or do podcasts like we
So
do. I
many
think,
tattoos.
yeah, I mean, kind of sort of covered.
Yeah,
But yeah, like it's great that, creativity encourages creativity. And yeah, as you say, some of the custom stuff coming out for Star Wars between the figures and the crochet pieces and even the cosplay, that's one of the things I kind of want to touch on with you is that characters like Paz have kind of given way to Mandalorians who are of that bigger frame, I think before when you had Boba Fett, when you had Jango Fett, they're always slim, lean Mandalorians, and even in the Clone Wars cartoon. But then you get a character like Paz who comes along and he's shown that you can be a bigger Mandalorian, and you're seeing all these fantastic cosplayers now who are inspired by that heavy Mando look
yeah.
and are part of those Mandalorian groups. How does it feel to kind of be at the forefront of encouraging those with bigger frames to get into costuming that way?
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, whatever you love doing, do that thing, I think, I can't talk about this stuff without mentioning the Mandalorian Mercs or the 501st. I mean, these groups that are out there that have this attention to excellence and detail of what the specifications of these suits need to look like, or else you're not in the group. And that kind of stuff, in Star Wars, in this thing where these guys are cosplayers, where it doesn't seem like there's a consequence if you come in with the wrong hue of blue.
Mhm.
But for them, it matters.
Yeah.
And you better have a goddamn standard or you can fucking stand somewhere else. And I fucking love that. I mean, it's like this is the what is of how this is represented. Justin Somfeld, I think I was in New York at New York Comic Con, and he hit me up and he goes, "Oh, the specs for your suit just came out." And then the next year I started seeing more and more of that representation, which has been really tremendous. I love seeing the littles in it. When you get a 6-year old that's in my outfit, I dig that, man. They're the best. The little kids at those things, oh my god, it's incredible.
Yeah, and it's great. Like again, you can have anything from like your homemade version, and I've seen Mandos made out of beer cans, right up to like the professional grade costume, the ones that are meeting those 501st and Mando Merc standards. So the broadness of the fandom being able to bring their creativity to through whatever costume they want to do is fantastic. And I think it is just great to see all the different interpretations of the heavy Mando. When it came to your costume for the show, did you get to have any sort of input into how it was put together, or what blasters you were using, or was that all kind of already decided upon before you got into costume?
Whenever you try to do something like a project or whatever, the more people you have that have input, the longer it takes to execute that, right? If it
Mhm.
ever happens, it can just get mired down in discussion. So they didn't ask me much. But the part that I did play in that, they had a vision. I think the team had a vision, and then they went through with that vision. What did matter was, my suit, Emily Swallow's suit, and Brendan Wayne's suit were the only three that we had. And so they were kind of the beta test for that. And so then the incumbent suits that would be Katie Sackhoff or Axe Wove's the character or whatever, they got to fix those in different regards and based upon our feedback. But our suits never changed
Mhm.
because once it's set in, it is what it is. And so we learned a lot through that too. Like you need to have vents in those helmets. Otherwise, the fog gets crazy,
Mhm.
right? And then when, I am mic'd and they have the mic and they put it in the top of the helmet in Boba Fett. And for the scene when I'm back and forth healing Mando's leg and all that, it's instant fog because that's where the vent was. And so the battery pack is over the only place where you could get fresh air. And then I'm in the dark and I'm on a tri-level platform that's 40 feet off the cement inside the Manhattan Beach Studios. And in that, you end up counting steps because I've got to push the forge. So now I'm huffing and puffing, pushing the forge across. There's a pile of chains off to my right behind me. And you have to know where everything is, not on sight, but on if I take 3.5 steps back, I'll trip over those chains. And so I'm going to need to take a half turn the other way. Then I have 1.5 steps before I have to step down to the next level. And because I'm blind. And so for that whole scene, I'm blind inside of that. And so then they learned and they go, oh, we're going to need to get defoggers to spray on these periodically. And so it was like a growing thing in that kind of a way. And then there was some stuff that it is what it is. Like Paz can't sit down,
Mhm.
but you can lean. And so it's like I just find places to lean against or an apple box that's upturned that's high enough that you can get some relief from the pressure of the suit. Yeah, so it was all that. It's all working. People say what's it like working in a suit, and for me the experience was that it's another character that you have to contend with. The suit is its own character, and the suit can either make you look stronger or weaker, and it's oppressive. I mean, Brendan's suit is like a sweatsuit with a couple of caps on it, and my suit is a multi-layered leather, steel epoxy, um, you know, a different bodice that is a harness and then has a top, and it's tough to move in. And then it's all strapped together with elastics, right? So the waist is connected with elastics to the legs, and then the thighs to the knees, and the knees to the shoes. And so there's this thing about you're being pulled down all day. And so to be in an express position of power is a thing that you're conscious of all day long. And so you're really working with the suit of going, what's the best way to represent this character so that he has the strength and integrity that, the honor of his ancestors would smile upon. And that became the thing. And that sounds like a certain way, however that sounds, but that's easier than like playing Darth Vader
Mm.
because Darth Vader already has movement patterns set, and you need to move like Darth Vader. And so I had a little latitude with, and all I wanted to do with Paz is, I love Chewbacca, and I go, people might love him as much as you love Chewbacca, so you
Mhm.
better not fuck it up. You better carry yourself in a way that befits that, and so I thought of Chewbacca a lot when I would go to performance.
Yeah. And do you find, has the response from fans been, are you getting fans that are kind of giving you that, I love this character? Are you receiving that love that you feel Chewbacca would get?
Tremendous, tremendous. I mean, people are very attached uh, to Paz. They really relate, and everybody has a different experience with him, which is an interesting thing because we all watch the same thing, and people have different points of relationship with him, with what they pick up on, with what their history is, or whatever. And I think that's interesting. I like to listen. You know, when people tell me who he is, I like to just listen and get feedback about what that looks like for them.
Mhm.
When we talked to Brendan Wayne about working on Mando, we asked him about working with Pedro Pascal, and obviously he said that Pedro wasn't really there. It's more of a distance thing, because he just provides the voice. Whenever you're on set and you're on set with Jon Favreau, obviously he does the voice for Paz, but is there a more of a working relationship with you and John since you are both there at the same time?
He was very integral in every scene, you know, as the writer. And so he would come out, I mean, more mornings than not, and talk us through what he thought the scene was and where he thought it was going. And then he really stood back and then let it evolve into what it was going to be, because he's got so much experience as a filmmaker that he's like, it can't be a contrived performance. It's going to be what evolves as they rub onto each other. And I learned a lot from him in that way. But as far as, I mean, I think, you know, John thought of these characters, right? And he would have loved to have been a physical specimen enough to play Paz or have the time to play Paz or any of that. And so the first time that I ever was privy that it was not my voice in the first episodes was at the premiere, because he really had, you know, had a fetish to play the character. And so and that's when I found out. And then he kind of sheepishly was like, so how did you like playing my body or whatever? And I go, I'm just happy to be at the party, man, you know, whatever. And then I don't know what happened, but like you notice, like the third episode voice or the third season voice is not the first season voice any longer. Um, and so that arc, and I think that maybe that speaks to representation or different things about with Brendan. It's the same. It's a similar thing as like, you know, I believe that for me, Brendan is that character. It can't be done without him. Um, he and Lateef carry that weight, and that's really it. And so, you know, you got to be present to win, and you can't take credit for somebody else's work.
Mhm. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. How do you find working with Brendan and Lateef? I know,
Love it, love it.
yeah, is it the
Yeah,
best time? Yeah. I
yeah.
assume the
Brendan is
scene.
a hero. Brendan is the guy that is the glue on every set. He is the morale booster. He's a guy that's so cool that like when all the littles came out to play, you know, they had long days and they're in the sun all day and all that. Brendan brings in a pinata filled with candy and his Kali sticks. And so over lunch hour, all the little kids get to swing at this pinata until the candy spills. Like he brings that, you know, first he thinks of that. He's thoughtful about the whole thing and about what everybody's experience is. And that's what he brings to say. He's a real leader. He's the linchpin that leads the morale on those sets. Yeah, anybody that works with him is lucky to work with him for sure.
Yeah, I think we got that impression even from the brief conversation we had with him. He just
Yeah,
seems a real laid back dude who just will speak his mind and just seems like good crack, you
yeah.
know, I would say here. But what about with Lateef? I was wondering, so the scene where you are fighting over the dark saber, is that, are you fighting with Lateef there? Because you come from an MMA background.
Yeah.
So are you yourself sort of combat trained, and was it yourself doing that
My
with
first
Lateef?
combat training was in stick fights. Actually, I fought Krabi Kabrong. I fought with a group called the Dog Brothers,
Hmm.
and the Dog Brothers were a group of full contact stick fighters that fought without armor on the equinoxes, on the summer solstice and winter solstice. And so we would go fight in a park in Hermosa Beach. And there'd be like 20 guys from Switzerland, from Maine, from Utah that would come and descend on a weekend, and we would fight. And so that is my first like organized, loosely organized, but organized input into mixed martial arts or fighting world that was structured anyway. And you'd fight guy. I mean, people would bring nunchucks, people would bring staffs, people would bring chains, people would bring a bat, like and go like, does anybody want to fight anybody with a bat? Does anybody want to fight anybody with a bullwhip?
Yeah.
And you know, and you see how that shit would play out. And they really started with the idea that the Dog Brothers started with the idea that they wanted to see what was true because there's so much fantasy about there's as much fantasy about martial arts as there is in Star Wars. I mean, it's incredible. And especially back in the 90s. And so anybody could say anything. You know, I know this dim mak death touch, and if you know, I would be able to be in real fights, but I would just kill people. And I was like, is that true? And so like with sticks, it was the same thing, right? And guys are like, oh, you die if you get blah 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 blah. And there's a couple guys that were like, let's see if we die.
Yeah.
And they found out they didn't die. You know, you could get knocked out, you could get your fingers broken, you could I could strike you on your arm and your arm could swell so fast that your skin split apart. That stuff can happen. But nobody died. And so people that were in search of the truth is who the Dog Brothers were. And then out of that, grappling came. And so, yeah, so like with swords and with sticks and with all that stuff, I fought at high levels in that world. And then in mixed martial arts for years subsequent to that, you know, you give up sticks because your knuckles do swell to a point where you can't grip. And so I couldn't grapple very well. So I had to make a trade one for the other with sticks to grappling to Muay Thai. Mm-hmm. And wrestling. And so that's kind of where a lot of my history lies is in that way. And so all of those things, you know, like when I get hired for a job, it becomes, you know, I came in through the stunt world into acting, right? And what's your skill set? Your skill set is that you're a fighter. And then but you can't hit anybody. But it has to look like you hit some. And so there's this whole different essence to learning what that is and to learning choreography and taking a hit and what that looks like and all that kind of thing. People are like, what's the difference with like fighting and like with stunt fighting? I go, well, like in stunt work, like if you get knocked out in a fight, you likely did not see that strike come. It's as much a mystery to you as until you wake up and see the tape until then. And so, but if I'm going to get hit by a car in a movie and I'm going to walk out in front of a car and be lackadaisical and I have to appear as if that's surprising to me. I can't be tense. I can't pre-jump. I can't there's all this stuff that goes on. And so the artistry of movement becomes a different kind of measure that you're looking at instead of driving in towards like a certain juncture or to try to have efficacy in this one area of I want to be able to go ahead and present this 3-punch combination and follow it up with a knee to the face. It's like it's a different kind of idea, and so you can't push through it. You have to work with it, and so it's really the dance of choreography is working with another fighter that's an athlete for what? To win? No, it's to make the scene look dope, and so that becomes the whole. That's why it's hard to work with new people or people that are just purely actors because there's ego that's involved in that. And they want to think that they're a thing that they're not. And then that becomes dangerous and people get hurt, you know? It's really the number one time I think people get hurt is by actors that want to do their own fights that have no idea how to fight, but have an idea that they think that they know how to fight. It's kind of like the guy that's like, you know, when I know I would do well in a fight because when I get mad, I just see red. It's like, oh, you're taken over by your emotional nature. And you think that that's a skill set physicality wise. That's interesting. Huh. And, you know, all I know is that you've never tried anything because that's a horrible, horrible plan. And so this idea about, you know, what you're doing there has to come into play. Like we both have this same goal. And I think that's the goal. And that's the beautiful thing about filmmaking in general is that you have these obstacles that come up that seem impossible. And you're in this place where the impossible happens, miracles come up, and you problem solve in real time with a group of people that are highly skilled, and it's one of the coolest things about making movies.
With the rise of like people like Dave Bautista and John Cena, over the last few years, have you found
Who's
that
John Cena?
I've never seen them before? Um, have you found that more roles have opened up for you rather than just the usual gangster number one or strongman number one? Have you found that you've sort of got more named lined parts?
I wish that David Batista had something to do with that. Um, it'd be nice to have some help. Uh, I really admire David Batista and his efforts. You know, when you look at the beginning of the first film that he did, and then what happened and how he's curated himself. I don't know if you just saw the thing he did, the Last Showgirl, with Pamela
Yes.
Anderson.
Hmm.
In him doing nothing, it's brilliant. Right? He's very withdrawn and kind of removed in that. It's not like a huge, but it's powerful, and that's a maturity as an actor that he couldn't have done 10 years ago. You know, you look at him in Knives Out, fucking brilliant, funny, good timing. You know, and and I think the asset for us athletes that come in is like you've been moving with emotion for your whole life. To ask an actor to move and do an action and talk at the same time, you watch them trip over their feet. It's like there's that thing that can happen, and so and conversely, that happens in the stunt community. I mean, there's stunt guys that, you're going to run in, you're going to baseball slide in the room and come up with a machine gun and tell everybody to put their fucking purses on the counter or whatever. And they can never get that line out. Like it's too much. There's a lot that goes on in the mind to be able to connect those things. And so, and that's just time under tension. I remember I asked Vincent D'Onofrio and Chris Pratt at different times. I go, hey, what can I do to endeavor to be a better actor? They go, and they both said the fucking same thing as if they rehearsed it together and they weren't together. And they said, there's not the right class. Of course, you should take classes, but there's not anything except working in front of a director that lets you play, and time under tension. And when you're there, when there's consequence, and you have to, that's where you get better. And that's a horrible answer to give. They both acknowledged because you can't contrive that to happen, right? And so, that was the thing that I really felt so grateful for about Mando, because I'm in scenes for 8 months or whatever it is, and I get to be just that. I get to play, and I get to curate this character in the way that I want, in the verbiage that I want over that time, and it brings a comfort, and it brings a sense of confidence in a different way than I had before I did that. But as far as those guys breaking into it, I mean, that's why I said, like I mentioned Carl Weathers to begin with. He is that guy, right? Dave Bautista for sure is that guy. Dwayne has, of course, built an empire. I mean, there's these guys we can point to, but the simple fact is, I was talking to John once. He came in to my dressing room, and he goes, "Well, what else? What else are you doing?" And I go, "Well, me and my homeboy Keith Jardine, we're making a movie, because I mean, there's no agency in this business if you're not a creator." And he goes, "No, none of us would be here. Like Leonardo DiCaprio is like the only one that would be here. Like it's like whether it's Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, you know, any comedic actor, all these people had made their own shows to go in. Danny McBride, um, and so that idea about you've got to wait till the phone rings is a disheartening thing. But if you're actually into the creation of things, you're making your own things anyway. And so we just segue into making our own films in the meantime, in between jobs. And that's the thing, is like, the thing about a Batista or a John Cena, like that's quite a help to have WWE behind you, to have the managers and agents that you had as a WWE superstar behind. We don't have, nobody has that. It's almost like a cheat code, right? It's not that you don't have to do work. It's not that there's not talent, blah, 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 blah. I get it. But that ain't the same as what we do. That's a different world. And so those guys didn't have to create anything, right? I think that, looking at those characters, they're great characters they create, but they're not of their minds. It's not like they own the IP. And so that was the only way that Keith and I kind of left, that we would be able to progress or continue on with the career, is really like, let's make our own stuff, because a lot of the stuff you work on is like you're just taking jobs. And when you make your own thing and there's people that are invested, that love you, that have worked as grips and construction and wardrobe, and they're there on your movie, they love you, fuck, that's a different feeling on set, man. That's better than any Star Wars movie. I mean, that's better than anything. I've been on a lot of big shows and that I've been real grateful to be on and all that. But to be able to be in creation is something that you can be proud of in that way. And all those people are proud of it because here's some homegrown guys from the dirt that have come up this way and made it crack. Ooh, that's second to none.
Yeah, it's definitely me and Danny as well, or obviously creatives of doing stuff like this, and it's one of those things where w- if I'm making a short film and to be the director and the captain of the ship, and for people to take direction and stuff, it is like nothing else. It is a high that you never really can get anywhere else because everybody wants the same goal of making something good.
You can see our latest film is Kill Me Again,
Mhm.
and it's on Amazon and all those streamers. It's on. I think it's free on Tubi. I think right now. But that was our first feature length, and we made a short called El Paso before that, and that was like a business card to show other people that might invest like we can execute. Right? We did a thing, and so that's we so then started a production company, Broken Ear Productions, and we do the Broken Ear podcast every week. And so that's just kind of how we're pushing that all forward. Um, because who knows if they make Bad Batch and I can play record, cool.
Oh,
But I can't wait for that phone call. You know what I mean? I gotta make it work before that. So
of course. Is I'm assuming that's sort of
I just try
a
to speak
goal
it
that you would
into
like to.
existence. I
Yeah,
speak it into existence. Yeah.
exactly. That would be great. Imagine you got to play a record. A live action Bad Batch would be even just one episode. Do you think they could sneak them in somewhere through like a Mando project or something? Have you
Dude,
not
I think
pitched this idea?
they can make a whole series out of that. You look at all the offshoots if you want to think about the creativity of Mando
Hmm.
and go, would you like to see Mandalore in its heyday?
Absolutely.
Is that an offshoot that would be you could have a whole season of that?
Hmm.
Would you like to see Ragnar and his revenge of his father?
Hmm.
Would you like to see a world where his father comes back from a Bacta tank or something? Like it's endless what we could find out inside of that universe. I mean, I look at what they did with Andor, how beautifully dovetailed to the original Star Wars. I mean,
Hmm.
and dark and gritty and I mean just beautifully done. And so it's really endless. I often when I talk to these youngsters um, on panels or whatever at these conventions, I'm like, that Boba Fett was made because a guy was excited because he watched Boba Fett zoom off with Han Solo for 15 seconds, and that stuck with him. And then 20 years later, whatever it is, he makes another character.
Yeah.
And he wants to run off with that storyline. And I think that's the phenomenal part about it. It's like, are you creative enough that you don't want to see other things? Well, fuck, then those other things are possible. Well, they're right there, right that story, you know? And this idea that, I can't, or it's for somebody else, or I'm not in the right position or whatever, it's like, it's got to change to I won't. I'm not willing to try. Because until you get to the point where the truth is that you just are not willing to try, that won't sit and rot in your gut like cancer until you throw it up and you're like, I gotta fucking try, you know? Because the truth is that you can, I mean, to ask yourself the question, is it true that I can't? I mean, we're all just as available as anybody else to make the next thing. And I think that's the cool thing about stories is because, like I was saying about people's reflection of Paz, is that everybody has a different idea of what they saw.
Hmm.
Is he an antagonist? Is he a protagonist? Is he a hero? What is he inside of that? And everybody has their own version of that.
Just mentioned there that you would like to be Wrecker in Bad Batch, so I'm assuming you've watched Bad Batch then. And going into a character like Vizsla, who has, as you say, this legacy to his family name, is that something that coming into the Mandalorian were you kind of given like the Vizsla handbook, or had you sort of taken in more Star Wars content again? Had you been watching the animated stuff?
Yeah, I got the job and I watched all the animated stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah, I did my research.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was your favorite of the animated stuff? I'm going to assume Bad Batch from what you said, but
It was dope. That was the most fun for me. Yeah.
yeah. Hmm. The Vizsla stuff I've started kind of re-going over. Whenever I'm editing the podcast, I'll put Clone Wars on, and
Yeah.
I've started it at the again. I'm in season 2, and the Mandalore stuff's just coming on, and I'm like, oh, there's the Vizslas, and they're gonna be bad, and oh, it's just it's great, and I love just the development that Filoni took with that,
Yeah,
and has just developed for all these different characters, the clones, how the Mandalorians were even developed. Like I said
he's so
earlier,
great.
we were only ever given Boba Fett and Jango Fett, and that was our kind of like archetypal Mandalorian. But then through the Clone Wars, through Rebels, and then Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, we've just got this whole vast world of Mandalore now, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, and then Rosario stuff. I mean, it's like it goes on and on and on.
Oh yeah.
I want to see Paz come back as a Jedi, right?
Oh.
To come back as his ancestors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Imagine with the dark saber and all. Would you, if they called you and said, "We need you to come back, but be a younger Vizsla," would you would you eat that up?
Go. I'm
Yeah.
here for the party. Yeah.
You mentioned there earlier about like you looked a lot to Chewbacca. So you mentioned there it'd be cool to do a Vizsla Jedi, but would you like to do a Wookiee sometime?
No, I
No?
would never. Uh-uh.
Nuh-uh. Too hot, too sweaty?
I I want to I want to be able to express me. And
Mm.
so to be encumbered with a helmet and all that, it's a cool to be able to have done it. I don't want to continue that. That would be something that I think would be a misuse of my talent.
Mm, okay, okay, fair. So ideally something where you're not in full costume anymore, your
I
face
mean,
is
like
out.
Pre Vizsla is out. You know what I mean? It's like
Mhm.
he's a Mandalorian, he's a Jedi. It's like all of that encompassing together. It's like what are fully expressed characters like? And I think that if you were going to do something with posing, and you would have to do a deeper expression of the context of what that is that surprised audiences and that brought them a new sense of awe and wonder.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that's a deeper knowledge of who. I mean, it's kind of like when Ragnar came on the scene. I
Mhm.
mean, that brought a deeper depth to my character,
Yeah.
right? And then people attach to that in a different way. So you need those hooks, I think,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
make it work.
You were talking about spin-offs. Obviously, there was the spin-off of the Book of Boba Fett, which you starred in an episode of. But was there ever a dream that you would be in the Book of Boba Fett with
No,
Boba?
that's unrealistic. It's, I mean, the whole thing was like for me that to be here, to be in like, oh, did you ever dream of being in Star Wars? No, that is crazy. And fucking thank God, what a crazy life that a lot of the things that I thought were crazy in life have happened. Like, you ever think you'd be a professional athlete? No. And then you start following a road and you pull at this thread and then this thing unfolds in this way. And if you've been developing yourself, you're suited for the bit.
Mhm.
I
Yeah. So I think that's the thing is like my whole job isn't like dreaming about what job to get or anything. If I'm doing that, I'm missing the point of strengthening my development today as I am to be more useful for whatever that job might be. Because I can't see the next job coming. I can't see what that's going to be. The only time I do that is if I get into creation of like the idea of like, oh, what's something that I would like to write, and then I get loose like that. But other than that, I got to pay the attention to the details that make me me so that I am uniquely qualified for that gig.
Yeah.
I personally have a dream that I get to join the moped gang from the Book of Boba Fett, if you can put in a word for me.
Right on. You know what's cool about that when we talked about the 501st earlier, um, is that when 50 stormtroopers come in to be on Book of Boba Fett, they were all the 501st guys because Legacy Effects like, well, we can't make 50 suits by Tuesday. And Dave Filoni's like, I know a guy. And he can call these guys that have screen ready attire. I mean, it's just phenomenal. So you never know I mean, that shit's available. But what I do know is if they go, oh, that would never happen, and they never had an interest in the thing, and they weren't curious about being stormtroopers and going and helping kids at cancer hospitals and throwing benefits and all, then none of that would have happened.
Mhm.
And so this idea about being in motion and being in the game as opposed to being a spectator is fucking huge. It's monumental. It's the difference of whether you do or don't.
So what you're saying is Adam needs to go and buy himself a moped and learn how to do moped stunts.
That'd be fun.
There's an idea. I think Adam, that's what your weekend project.
I
I
could
think it's
spin real. I could spin real good.
Or you write it.
There.
or oh, and I mean Adam is a writer. He does be writing. Um, I really like what you mentioned there, just about the fact that these people who are passionate about Star Wars ended up getting to play and be a part of Star Wars. I think that is not the goal of Star Wars fans, but it's so cool that the creatives behind Star Wars now are looking to the fan base to be like, hey, we can draw from the people that love this, and bring on the likes of the 501st and that for costuming. And yeah, like I would do a bit of costuming as well locally. So I do a Jedi now, but I used to do a Sand Trooper. So I feel your pain about the costume not being able to sit down. I was when you said that, I was like,
Oh
I
yeah,
get it. I get it. Whenever the Sand
yeah.
Trooper has that big back to pack on, and see the amount of times I'd just be like leaning against a wall, being like, right, if I lean just light enough, I won't break anything, and I can just
Right.
relax a little.
Some of those walls I found out are styrofoam. And
Did you go a clatter? Did you? Did you go
oh,
through it?
I crushed one with my boot, but but then somebody's always got it worse. And
Hmm.
and my friend Chris Bartlett that does all the C3, all the droid work and stuff, he started because he made costumes because he wanted to play and he went to conventions for 5 years and somebody sees him and says, "Hey, would you try out for the C3PO role?" I mean, you never know. I mean, it's just like whatever your interest is will grow into what your livelihood is if you're deep enough into the interest.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And you've sort of you've dipped your toes in the other things. You have like your caveman coffee and concrete cowboy clubs. Um, is there something in the near future that you're like, that's my next goal?
No,
No.
I I try to make myself available to my community to be of service and to be useful,
Mhm.
and and that's it. And all this other shit is wallpaper.
Mhm.
I just that like the clubs came up. Why? Because I live in America and you got to get paid 6 different ways to win here. And so as soon as I got some money, I started doing investments because I used to run nightclubs, et cetera, et cetera. It all dovetailed together. I like coffee, so I throw my hat over the fence and I start making a product to because I got now I got to go get my hat. And so like, how do you develop a product then to go towards that goal and pull at that thread of interest? And so it's just it's always that for me is like you know do I have time to put that in there? But none of those are the important thing. None of those are the things that matter. Um, I feel like my job is to develop myself as well as I can, so that when the next opportunity comes, I'm available for it. But I haven't really been in the. I don't know. I mean, I made companies. I did, but I haven't been in the business of like forcing a thing to happen. I mean, I've got a gym I started, and it still runs. I've got a couple of guys that were coaches of mine that run it now. Um, but I didn't know where that would go. I just wanted to be useful to create a thing that didn't exist in my community before, and now that thing still gets to get serviced. And so, yeah, I have a hard time thinking in those terms when people are like, well, what's the next goal or whatever. It's like same goal as yesterday. Develop yourself, be free, don't be confined by thinking that external things are going to make you happy internally. um, get free of whatever social constructs are around that are like, oh, we're being attacked by the government and food is going to try to kill us, and all that shit's true. Can you still win? Like, because all that stuff is just the what is. So can you accept the what is that you cannot change anyway? I can't change a president or a legislator, or I can't. And so does it behoove me to sit and be angry or frustrated about those things, or does that make me less useful? And so I think, the whole job is to mind your mind. You better pay attention to what your mind's doing, because your mind will drag you around through bad neighborhoods if you're not careful, and you'll be useless and you'll just be shouting into a cipher.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so I've done all that. So I choose a different way, and then my life unfolds in ways like this,
Mhm.
which is a trip. I don't know how that works, but I think there's some spiritual universal component to where if I pay attention to the universe that need help, then the universe will provide for me. Something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. You're a very uh, inspirational man in a world that is very pessimistic at the moment. Um,
They want you that way, though.
yeah,
Look, everybody want to be on a side.
Mhm.
What's working for Disney like, and working for Lucasfilms? I go, it's a little bit like working for the Empire and the Rebellion all at once, right? This is the world. This is what it is. And so, who runs that? Who runs? I mean, the people that want to deport everybody here are the same people that are paying, the people to come into the country. It's all the DHS. It's insane.
Mhm.
So what is the game? That I want you in chaos. I want you emotional so you make bad decisions. I want you to feel powerless and scared so that you beg the government to come and help you. And then you will give up your freedom for comfort.
Mm.
That's what we're begging for. And so what's the most revolutionary thing you can do is own your mind. Is all these ways that you are pushed to look at this or that or whatever, that you're not controlled by that. And I don't think that that's a possible thing to do 100%, but I think you ought to be awake to it.
Mhm.
And I think that, for me, anger is a luxury that I cannot abide by because it leads to dark places for me. And so I'm not gonna. What does yelling into the abyss do? I mean, Nietzsche talked a great thing about that, right? Beware of going to hunt for monsters, lest you become a monster. Never seen anybody do it that didn't. You scream into the dark long enough, the dark will absorb you. And so, these are the things about how to curate yourself as a human that you better overstand, or else you're just going to be one of the sheep, either that's the oppressor with a boot on the neck and you're saying, I'm just doing my job, or you're the one with your neck exposed. I mean, you don't have to be either. There's a different context that I can live life with, and that's what I choose to do. But I got to be careful of that because there's shit that makes me irate that I see, and I'm like, go back, breathe. Is this real? Oh, this is by design. This is by design because they want to control you. Okay, what's the most revolutionary thing you can do? Not be controlled, to not be fettered by it.
But more importantly, why is it that you only like green beans? Is there like a thing you don't like about baked beans?
The baked beans, I just don't like the texture.
Do you like the
Mm.
ones with like the little pork sausages on it?
No, you think that's pork?
It's
No,
You
definitely
live,
not pork.
yeah,
you
it's
live in
not.
Ireland. Listen, we don't have food here. Like,
Mm.
I shoot my own food. I'm careful about where I find food from because, I mean, Bill Gates puts plastic over apples
Mm.
that gives you can't, like, it's like our whole, everything is hijacked here. So the corporatization of the world, I mean, it's coming. You'll get it soon too. But here we are, right, where they want to make 3D printed meat and they want to kill all the actual cows and let them rot in the field. Like, that's the nature of what we look like right now in America. We've been sold to corporations about 20 years ago when Citizens United. This is a whole different conversation.
Mhm.
But they gave corporations the rights to give as much money to politicians without having to expose what that is about 20, 25 years ago. And since then, everybody in Congress, there's not one person that's not bought. You're either bought or bribed, right? You're either threatened or you're given money. And I mean, where else do you see public servants that make $180,000 a year that are worth $20 million after 5 years in office? That's weird. Nobody
Mm.
goes to jail. Like, this is the what is. I can be hemmed up about it, or I can just walk on and go, how do I make myself solvent in a world that's this is the game. If I don't like playing football, I'll get off the field. But the game, this is a rectangle that you're in, and you get to play in these confines. And that's my baked beans answer.
Yeah.
Perfect.
No, not quite what we thought, but here, very insightful. Still really good. But also what it sounds like is you need to come to Ireland and try a proper Irish stew
Mm.
I would
is also
love
what I
that.
hear.
I've
Yeah.
heard. I mean, I've been to England, and the only food that's good there is from other countries.
Yeah.
That sums up, yeah. But come to Ireland, we'll give you Irish stew, potato bread, soda
I'd love
bread,
to.
and Ulster fry with beans. You don't have to have the beans,
I
but
will. I no. When I'm in Rome, you know what I mean. I'm gonna fuck around like the Romans do.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
I want to go to Scotland too. Ireland and Scotland are on the list for
Here,
sure.
it's just a wee boat right away. You just
Yeah,
go
yeah,
go
yeah,
to
yeah.
Larne, go over
Yeah.
to Scotland
Go
for a
for a
bit.
swim.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, to be fair, there is, if you go to the Giant's Causeway, you can see Scotland from the Giant's Causeway. So, I mean, if you're a good swimmer, go for
Right
it.
on. Right on. Or if there's a good current in my favor.
Um, but I think that's a good place to wrap it up. I would love if you want to come see us, Tate. We'll happily put you and your family up. We'll bring all the Guinness and all the potatoes you can eat.
Thanks, man.
But thank you for joining us. Is there anything you'd like to plug?
Man, check out our movie. Check out Kill Me Again, man. I hope you guys like it.
We will.
And we'll be making more stuff like that. Yeah, and I don't know. I think Monopoly Con goes to Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
Is that true?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah,
Right.
they started in Belfast and now they're doing Dublin for the first time this year.
Right on.
Emily Swallow's coming over. Emily Swallow was announced.
I'll write to him, and you guys get everybody to write to him, and we'll see you there.
Perfect.
100%. Yeah, Emily Swallow's coming over, so you could just say,
Well done.
Emily, put
Say
me
to
in your
her, be
bag.
like, come on.
We travel well together. We did all Australia together. She was in Prague with me too.
Nice.
There you go. Just say to her, be like, here, I heard you got on with Monopoly for Dublin. Any chance?
Yeah.
But thank you very much again, Tate, for your time.
Thank you.
Very
Thank you.
insightful conversation. Hopefully it inspires a lot of people that are listening to go out and do what you want to make. There's nothing holding you back. Danny, plugs.
Yes, plugs for ourselves. Saturday, the 18th of April, something strange and unusual is coming to Ballymena, the Braid Arts Centre. It's Strange and Unusual, a celebration of sci-fi and horror. It will be 20 traders, artists, small press, and special guests in the hometown of Qui-Gon Jinn. So we'll hopefully see you there on Saturday the 18th between 11 a.m. and 5 p.m. in the Braids Arts Centre.
And I'll be there selling some prints from the show, as well as some shirts. Come get some free stickers and maybe a kiss. But thank you all for joining us. Join us next week for more fun and shenanigans in the stars. And as always, we have friends everywhere. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Gotta give it up for Boba Fett.
I do remember Boba Fett.
Give it up for the man in the Mandalorian armor, ladies and gentlemen.
Boba Fett.
Boba Fett.
Remember Boba Fett?
Boba Fett.
He's coming back.
Boba Fett.
Boba Fett, but I remember him. I remember his costume.
He's got a backpack and he flies.
He can shoot a wire out of his forearm and wrap you around.
He's so cool.
He fell into the Sarlacc pit monster, but
He's so cool and mysterious. He wears a mask.
He got out of the Sarlacc pit monster.
Wait, guys, I forgot what we're clapping for this week.
Check your email. See what Bob said. Yeah. I think it was the Boba Fett show, Star Wars Mandalorian.
Oh, gotta give it up for Boba Fett.
Boba Fett! You guys,
Boba
I can't
Fett.
wait for it to come out.